Darlene, you are one of the first scholars in the chart we saw before. Where did your journey with education take you, and what did you do with it? You're still muted, Darlene. Welcome.
Sorry.
Hi. No worries.
Greetings, everyone. So I'd like to take you on a little journey of my education journey. So go with me onto this journey. I'd like everyone to picture a young girl or boy full of dreams, but limited by resources, standing at a threshold of opportunity. Once upon a time, I was that girl. Today, I'm honored to be here, not just as one of Aiducation First scholarship recipients, but also a living testament of what investing and believing in someone's education can do. Years ago, someone I had never met, someone I had never known, saw my potential through my scholarship application and made a very powerful decision to invest in my education by giving me a scholarship. The scholarship was more than financial assistance to me, since it opened doors to education and ignited dreams and helped me shape a future I once believed was out of reach. Today, I proudly contribute to a vibrant operation at the Port of Mombasa, one of East Africa's key trade hubs. I also serve as a board member of our alumni organization, collaborating with fellow alumni to empower the next generation of talents. Additionally, I do advocate for young workers' rights at my workplace as a union leader. And to top it all, I am a mother to two adorable kids, Ruby and Belded. I embrace the responsibility of shaping their future as their mother. An opportunity to access education did not only create a single outcome for me, but I would say it created a ripple effect which can be illustrated in the roles I just mentioned I'm engaged in today. I would like to let everyone know that scholarship do not only uplift individual students, but they also transform families, they strengthen workplaces, they inspire communities and foster future leaders. Today, as we celebrate education's milestone, let's not only recognize what education has accomplished, but let's also envision what can we achieve together. The next generation awaits the same opportunity we received, or I personally received. Each one of us has the power to extend this impact through offering scholarship, mentorship, even contributing through strengthening ongoing programs within education. Years ago, someone opened a door for me. Today, I invite all of us not only to keep the door open, but to widen it up and uplift others, also realize their potential. That's my education journey, and thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much, Darlene. It's so special to hear from one of the first scholars to start with education, and really incredible to see your path. Thanks. And you mentioned doors. Looking back 20 years to 2006, someone in Kenya believed that talent, just like Darlene, just needed a door opened. And here you can see the first door of the door of the first education office, actually 20 years ago. And this was just the beginning of creating access to quality education. The beginnings were humble. In 2009, we were at 30 scholarships. And today we are at almost 3,000, which is an incredible achievement. Over the next hour, you'll hear from a few very special people behind these numbers, where education started, what was built, and where we go from here. From the effects of the Regenerative Impact Circle, to our alumni, to our path forward. So thank you so much for joining us. To kick us off, I'd love to hand over to one of Aiducation's co-founders, Eva. Eva, what did you see at the beginning that no one else around you could see yet?
Well, I think that's a very personal story, but I think I have to be fair and mention that actually the idea that education is based on really came from Kenya. It was in Kenya where Jeremy first developed the idea that later became the foundation of our organization today. And it was also in Kenya where Florian and Christine, the other two co-founders, met Jeremy, and Jeremy convinced them of his idea, and then they brought this idea to Switzerland. And the idea was very simple, but yet so powerful, giving talented young people access to education when they have the potential but not the means. This idea immediately also resonated with me when I heard about it, and that's where I came into play of the whole story. So I met Florian at ETH in Zurich, and I think the third question he asked me was if I would be interested to found this NGO with him that is based on this idea. And I was immediately all in for this because it immediately resonated. Because when I look back 20 years now, I must say it was kind of the end of a long search for me, because as long as I can remember, I always have been looking for ways to give back to society. I also tried a lot of things. I even went to the United Nations to do that, but somehow it all felt a bit too abstract, too distant, not personal enough, or just not in line with my values. And when I met Florian, that was about to change. And the second reason was that the only way I could meet Florian in Zurich was my own education. I do not come from a especially privileged background, at least for Western standards. And the only way out for me was my education. So also education changed my life and brought me to Zurich. And suddenly, with meeting Florian, everything came together for me. It was exactly the kind of personal impact I had been searching for. And by founding this organization, we did more than just supporting an idea. We built something from ground up together. And we had the opportunity to shape it, to define what it stands for, and bring our own values to life. And this is really what I have been looking for many years. So I think that's what made it for me very special. But I think the most fascinating aspect for me personally was that I met so many people in those 20 years all over the globe. I mean, the Philippines are so far away for me, and I still meet people that have the same values, the same energy, believe in the same, and are ready to shape the future of this organization. And that's just so amazing. So together, all of you, we turned that idea into something real. We changed lives for 20 years now. And being part of that journey from the very beginning is something I'm deeply proud of. And I also want to thank all of you for everything that you have contributed to make education what we are today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eva. That conviction is really what made the start of education possible. Donut, you backed education before we could prove anything. What did you see in the organization? Donut, are you with us? Hi, welcome.
Okay, so I have two episodes to share. The first one is I was a jury member and mentor at Switzerland's leading business plan competition called Venture. And that's where young teams come together to create companies. But then 3 young people applied to participate in the competition, and the administration office said, Donat, you need to meet them because it doesn't sound like a business. So I met them, and you can imagine there was Eva, who you just heard, Christine and Florian sitting with me in the coffee shop of the hotel. And I asked them, what do you want to do? And their answer was, we want to send young, talented, and poor Kenyan children to school. And then my second question is always, why? And that answer surprised me. And the answer was, we want to build the best NGO of the world by learning from the best companies in the world. And I thought that was a very interesting answer. And I said, that I can help you with. And so we set out to define what is the product we're selling, who are we selling it to, what is the price, what are the costs, you know, all kinds of words and concepts from the business world. We established a so-called advisory board to help guide the undertaking with more senior people at the table. But really, this was something I saw that indeed these 3 young people coming from the university don't just want to gather money because they feel that poor people need to go to school. They want to build something which is really amazing and enduring and learning from the best. The second episode I would like to mention to your question of what did I see which others didn't, is a couple of years later, after there was already several dozens, if not even maybe 100 scholarships in Kenya, which had been raised and sold and placed and people at school. Florian and I set out to say we want to have another country, a second country, and for that analyzed 10 different countries all over Asia. Ended up visiting 2, which is the Philippines and Bangladesh, in December of 2010. And we found that the Philippines was a great country to do education, but the team we were talking to was really awful. And we went to Bangladesh and found that Bangladesh is probably not the right country for education, but the team was amazing. So what do? We found a better team in the Philippines, and that is the team which we have right now since December, or actually maybe early 2011, and therefore Philippines is the second success story. Ultimately, we went out then to Cambridge in the United Kingdom, where Jan Rihak was building up a team to raise money and sell scholarships, where I visited several times. Jan did the same thing in New York, where I also went twice to also help set up the team and get everything ready. And there was a third team in Germany who was also raising scholarships. So you see all over the globe talent chapters, but also scholarship raising chapters. Now, what did I see on this? So that's maybe the third point, which I realized during all these trips to Bangladesh, Philippines, US, UK, and Germany, is we're doing something amazing here. We're not just sending people to school, we're training them to do something in their own countries with their own knowledge and their own empowerment, with their own solutions, not solutions from the West or from the North, but solutions from within Kenya and within the Philippines. So we were educating young, talented people to aid, not just aiding them to get education.
Thank you so much, Donat. That early belief setup and everything has really made all the difference. Over to you, Matthias. As Group Director of Aiducation International today, what do you want our audience to understand that they would maybe not think to ask about?
So Eva spoke about the search for something with real impact, and Donat spoke about seeing potential before it was even proven. What I want to tell you is what happened when those 2 things met and what it did to me. Let's go back to 2009, a global economic crisis. While our scholars and their families in Kenya and the Philippines were navigating circumstances none of us here can truly imagine, I got something they didn't. Time beside a salary due to shortened working hours, a privileged break in the middle of a disrupted world. And a master's degree in accounting and finance from one of the top-notch universities in Switzerland, in combination with a Swiss passport, resulting in the ultimate freedom to choose any direction in my life. Eva had that freedom too, and she told you what she's done with that. I was still figuring it out. And then a mutual friend, Donat mentioned Jan, from high school, actually from my high school, reached out through Facebook about education. And I met the co-founders and the local Swiss team led by Eva. And I immediately caught fire to volunteer my time as everyone else did back then. My first commitment with education was very simple. I was tasked to organize our first donor event for the Swiss chapter. So bringing together our early supporters, we managed to gather almost 100 people, and we raised 10 scholarships, 10 young people, 10 open doors. And then came Venture Kick, the final stage, and I was involved in the background to support the team, coming from the consulting side. Donat knows that moment, and Eva for sure. We had made it further than anyone expected, a social organization competing against ETH spin-offs and deep tech startups. And we genuinely did not think we would win, at least not the third stage. And we prepared the best pitch we could and hoped. And when the feedback came through, $100,000, the first NGO ever to reach the final stage of Venture Kick, I remember the feeling in our team. We could not stop anymore. Something had been unlocked, not just the money, but the proof. In 2010, Eva moved on. The Swiss chapter was in need of a new leadership, and nobody particularly wanted to step up. The economy had recovered, careers were moving on again, and someone started to put names on a blackboard. Mine was one of them. I remember the vote. Almost every hand went up. I had to accept. It was not an easy decision. Business was flying again, but it was never about the role. It was always about the talents and what would happen to them without leadership in Switzerland. So it became a duty to step in, most probably a decision that definitely changed the rest of my life. And then came Kenya here on the picture in December 2010, my first trip to East Africa, a simple primary school at the coast. More than 50 young people absorbing every session, full of curiosity, ambition, energy, the kind of energy you definitely cannot imagine unless you are there. And one of them was Darlene. Neither of us could have known then what the next 20 years would look like. Darlene went from the classroom to Kenya Ports Authority, helping to coordinate trade flows that move goods across East Africa and beyond. Member of a youth union, working to improve conditions for workers. And just recently, as mentioned by her, elected as one of the 3 board members of our locally owned alumni organization in Kenya. She opened this session today. You had a chance to listen to her. Standing in that classroom, looking at her and the fellow students, I understood something I had not understood before. Privilege is not something you earn. It's something you're born into. And the question is never, how much can I build for myself? The question became obvious to me that week. How much of what I was given can I pass forward? The clarity grew into something larger, a network of volunteers, employees, donors, and partners reaching the Philippines, people with the same DNA, the same belief, and the same willingness to show up. And it led to the most important decision of my professional life. When I was offered a path to become a managing partner, I chose a different direction. An institutional partnership with Swiss Re and Education in front of our doors. A chance to leverage my skills and networks from the private sector for the sake of purpose and these talents. And I have never looked back. We each have a limited amount of time on this planet, and we each get to decide. Do we spend it accumulating for ourselves, or do we spend it building something that outlasts us? Education is my answer to that question, and Darlene is the proof that the answer was right. The idea became reality. We know that now. The question is, how far can it reach? And that's what the next 20 years are here for. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Matthias. really showing us what it means to show up, work together, and how that can open doors for others. Now we hear from some voices making education happen on the ground every single day. And firstly, I'd like to hand over to Harriet, Country Director of Aiducation Kenya. Harriet, Kenya is where it all began. You carry that history, lead it today. What do you want our partners to understand about what this really means on the ground?
Thank you, Carmen. As a beneficiary of education support myself, I actually was sponsored through education, not by Aiducation, but a different organization. But for me, it was that accumulation of my own personal journey as a student many years ago, getting the opportunity to now be in a position to champion impact. And so every day for me at Aiducation, I'm now 5 years in, and it's just that amazing opportunity to be able to infuse into young talents a lot of what I still wish I had gotten, back in the day, but I'm now in a position to do that. We recruit bright, talented young people within Kenya and give them the scholarship that enables them to go and attain an education, a high school education. But for us here, it's even more than just this education that you get in school. We have infused it with so much more, so that it's not much about the quantity, as in numbers of the kids, of the talents who come through the pool, but the quality of what we pour into them. And so our various academy journeys come into play, and we give them the opportunity to start learning as early as when they're in high school. They are able to get into academies that allow them to begin structuring their dreams, that they are able to be mentored and given life skills by people from a wide scope, both locally and globally. And this opens up their mind and really assures them that the dreams are real and they can be attained. And so being at the forefront of that gives me like a front seat at just how much there is to be done, but also how much further we can go, together as the education family, but with all the other people that we work with as partners. Here in Kenya, we have also embarked on that journey of local partnership building, where I can, say that last year, in the last 2 years, we've had a collection of partners from local organizations and companies who are sold out to the idea of education, who are eager and excited to participate in the work that we do, that they may support, either whether be it financially or just by giving those mentorship opportunities. And I'll give a case in point. I mean, we've just gotten in one of our big partners from Old Mutual, and they are participating in programs with our alumni. They're giving them opportunities to train in the insurance and financial sector. They're giving them inroads into the workplace by giving them first-hand experience to work and to begin growing their skills, so that they'll be well groomed when they go out into the marketplace and start building their careers. They're not just book smart, but they have the practical tools that it takes to deliver in the workplace. And so for me and the entire team here in Kenya, it's just quite motivating and encouraging to be a part of this great work and to accompany young minds on this holistic journey. So we are excited for what is ahead and look forward to beyond 20 years from now, that we'll be back here with more inspiring stories. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harriet. From a scholar, mentee, employee, director, you're making change every day. That's also proof of the concept. Solvie, as country director in the Philippines, the model crossed the ocean. What did you find when it arrived, and what did the Philippines teach education?
Wow. Hello from Manila. I want to take you back to 2010. At the time, I still remember that day very clearly. I just came back to the office from an off-campus meeting, and my colleague Len informed me that Dr. Florian Capizza called and would call back. When we finally spoke, Florian, in his incredibly enthusiastic voice, was passionately pitching this new organization called Aiducation International, promising to sponsor, our top students and promising to bring them to Switzerland. And this was over a landline, so no face, just voice. And I listened. I was, of course, very polite. But when we put the phone down, I was thinking to myself, okay, this is 100% a scam. But the Skype calls kept coming, and we started with 3 students first, and then it became 5. And then today, the scam has already sponsored over 400 Filipino students. The picture at the top is Florian during his first visit 2 years after that phone call in 2012 at our 10th anniversary in Pathways. Over the past 15 years, our relationship has evolved into something very rare. During the Philippines' intense and massive K-12 transition, Florian, Matthias, and myself had endless, sometimes heated discussions. But no matter how differently we saw things, it never once affected our deep friendship or our professional respect for each other. We always came out of those meetings stronger. This respect unlocked, I think, what is our greatest strength, which is co-creation. Pathways was focused on deep and localized quality, while education brought a beautiful global vision that pushed us to dream bigger. They introduced us to frameworks of academies and more recently, the virtual career fairs. In fact, the picture below is our first meeting with the Swiss Chamber of Commerce back in 2024. And since then, we have been able to invite Swiss companies to join our virtual career fairs. But crucially, education never forced anything. They gave us absolute freedom to contextualize these programs to our local reality. And because of that trust, our under-resourced students completely shed their inhibitions. We knew the impact was real when one of our students, while in Singapore for a competition, while he was still in high school, had the absolute confidence to reach out on Messenger directly to the SynPulse's CEO just to connect. And that would be the next slide, where you'll see the picture on the right. That is a screenshot of his Facebook post in 2019 with Christoph, who's the SynPulse CEO then. And that was made possible because they met at the SynPulse Project Management Academy, which is the picture at the top left. But this was not a one-way street like what Carmen mentioned. Pathways also shaped education's global blueprint. Through our Filipino concept of kapwa, which is our version of shared identity, we introduced building community as a vital pillar in the theory of change. We proved it wasn't enough to just save one starfish at a time. We had to build an interconnected community of them. We also infused our interventions with a fierce love for the universal values of discernment, integrity, service, and excellence, giving our students values to cling to, especially during times of moral confusion, especially these days. We shared these innovations and interventions through our educational disruptions, sharing these experiences with education. So when Kenya recently faced similar educational shifts, education was more or less prepared and already knew how to anchor them. I often kid our friends in Kenya that they have us to thank in the Philippines for the fact that Matthias and the rest of education didn't completely freak out when those changes started happening over there. That spirit of kapwa is exactly what drives us forward today. Most recently, education challenged us to look beyond college graduation and continue supporting our alumni, realizing that young professionals still need a network to thrive. And we took that to heart. And I'm happy to share that just last month, after almost a year of planning, we hosted our very first massive alumni gathering, bringing over 300 of our alumni together under one roof to form a powerful, lifelong network of support for each other and for our younger students. That's the picture below, and you'll see Matthias there. I'm glad that Matthias and our colleague from Kenya, Boniface, were there to personally witness these bonds in real life. Co-creation is the beauty of it all, but on a personal note, this partnership gave us something we didn't know we needed, which was validation. In the Philippines, championing public education can feel like a lonely uphill battle against an unmoved community. But in education, we found a partner where we felt completely seen. Education recognized our worth and gave us the emotional fuel that we needed to keep going and to keep growing. By blending the global scale with the spirit of kapwa, we have co-created a deeply meaningful model, one that we are incredibly proud to now offer to the global stage in the hope of reaching even more young talents worldwide. 15 years ago, I thought it was a scam. Today, I know the truth, and I say this often, that we are institutional soulmates. And we look forward to growing farther and further together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Solvie, for those insights on global cooperation and how it is to share the same mission on different soil and just watching it grow. Awesome. Christina, as country director Switzerland, you were in Kenya last year. What did that change for you, and what do you bring back every time you walk into a room with a Swiss donor?
This is actually very easy for me to answer. When I was in Kenya last October, I had lunch with one of our talents, Daisy. She joined the education journey almost 8 years ago. She told me her story, and it was not an easy one. Growing up, she moved between her grandmother's home and her mother's home and facing many challenges and very limited opportunities. Even getting access to the right education was a fight for her. But then she got the chance, and what happened? She didn't just finish school, she graduated at the top of her class. She became one of the first women in her field, working as a biomedical engineering technologist at Kijabe Hospital. And honestly, I remember sitting there thinking, wow. But what impressed me even more was what came next. Daisy did not just take the opportunity and build a life for herself, she became even an entrepreneur. She started her own initiative to create more access to affordable medical solutions and to support people with disabilities, giving them visibility, skills, and opportunities. And that was the moment where I actually thought, this is exactly what we do. Because the real impact is not only that one person receives an opportunity, the real impact starts when this person turns around and creates opportunities for others. So they become catalysts in their own communities. And I see the same with our mentoring program. I saw it also with Daisy when she told me after at least 6 weeks, I have to talk to my mentee. Then I know these are not just programs on papers. These are real human connections. So what I bring back into every Swiss conversation, the belief that talent is truly everywhere, but opportunities are not. And if we open the right doors, these young people will not only walk through them, they will open many doors to others. And I think that means we are on the right track. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christina. Enabling the opening of doors every single day. Now we hear from some of the people that this organization was built for. 2 alumni from 2 countries, David and Marie-Jean. David, you joined in Kenya as scholar number 54 in 2008. Please tell us what changed for you and what you did with your education journey.
Hi, Carmen, how everyone. So my education journey was quite hard, and I would say the year 2009 was a life-changing for me. I had struggled the previous year in the first secondary education year. My father, my family were at the very lowest financially. I had gotten some good grades, yes, but then joining the next step was a hurdle. It was difficult. However, how we managed to put together a few resources, some got, some grains, and we were lucky that the high school principal was generous and kind to allow me to join, even without clearing all the school fees. But then in the course of that year, it was a lot of challenges in and out of class, couldn't focus. However, I still managed to be number 8 out of around 148. But then one life-changing event happened. One of those days when I was about to go home. I had been sent home for school fees, and I was standing somewhere close to the deputy head teacher's office, and this teacher called Mr. Thoya. He was the chair of the Christian Union in our school, and he also doubled as the patron. So he looked at me and said, young boy, you have some great future ahead of you, and I think there's an organization that can help you out. So he showed me the application forms, and I took the opportunity, shared with my father, and we submitted the application. So the whole of that first year was challenging, but at the very end, some light at the end of the tunnel, I was able to get the scholarship. So which means for the next 3 years, I would have uninterrupted access to quality education. And for real, that was what I did. I put a lot of focus into my education. It wasn't without challenges at home. You see that lamp there, that was the source of light that I used to use. But despite all those challenges, I put a lot of focus, improved in my classes, rose from number 2 to number 1 in the next 2 years, and finalized the national examination at the top of my class and the top of my county. It was around more than 7,000 students in the region. So that was a very touching moment for me. Looking at the newspaper, I dreamed to be an engineer. And right now, as I'm speaking, I'm a senior engineer in this organization called Davis and Shatliff, where I use my expertise in electrical engineering to change lives in the space of energy. I advocate a lot of solar, green energy adoption, in particular solar, starting from our home, but also touching neighbors, touching communities, touching schools, which has been able to be an opener for many people. So education, as it were, I think it's the only equalizing thing that comes between a student who has a dream and the dream that they want to go to. As Kofi Annan put it, it's something that the opportunity, the stepping stone that came from education. That was the opportunity that somebody had to come through. I didn't know who that would be, but through this Mr. Thoya teacher, I was able to access it. To the next slide, Meier. Yeah, so 2012, I got the good result. I had an opportunity to come to Switzerland as the first scholar to share my story, to share the impact of Aiducation International, and took this photo when we were doing a tour or a hike at Swiss Alps. Let's go next. Yeah, and right now, where I stand as a senior engineer and also a manager at the unit where I'm stationed, I have a lot of access to CSR initiatives that I champion for. And the organization rightfully positioned it under promoting renewable energy, the solar. So what I normally assist with is helping communities, helping children homes to make applications that are curated, and I enable them to get the awards for free solar pumping systems for water, and also upgrading electricity powered solar pumping systems. And in one of those photos, the top left, we were commissioning one of the projects, and indeed the impact can be seen. People have no access to water, so giving them access to water through my knowledge and through the support of the organization I work for, that's a life-changing thing that I do day to day, and I'm happy that it's touching the lives of people and even touching the lives of livestock. Remember when I was joining the first year of my education, the first thing that my parent took was a goat, and right now I'm happy that through what I do, livestock get to benefit from the journey that I've had and the benefit I had from education. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, David. From using a kerosene lamp to championing solar energy and impacting so many lives, including those of livestock. That is the true ripple effect of access to education. Thank you for sharing. The next alumni we will hear from is Marie-Jean from the Philippines. She has super kindly curated a video for us, so please do enjoy.
Hi everyone, I'm Jean, one of the students whose life has been transformed through Pathways and education. Before Pathways came into picture, my family lived what many would have considered a middle-class life in the Philippines. However, being middle class here often means being one emergency away from poverty. We had enough to live comfortably, but we did not have any emergency funds. Everything changed when my father suffered a heart attack at just 39 years old. He underwent a major heart surgery which depleted our savings and left us with significant debt. Overnight, my mother became the sole provider for a family of five. And a public school teacher, her salary became our only source of income. Education was everything for my parents, especially my mom, who is a teacher. She learned about Pathways program through the schools she teaches at and encouraged me to attend Marikina Science High School, knowing that science was both my passion and my strength. From the beginning, she saw it as a path to opportunities of gaining access to quality higher education and possibly for me to get to medical school. Somehow, she had carefully planned this journey for me, and fortunately, her plan worked. I joined Pathways in high school, which helped me earn scholarship for my pre-medical degree in Ateneo de Manila University. During my senior year in the university, I applied to several medical schools, even though my family had no financial capacity to support it. But my mother and I gathered our courage and met Miss Solvie to ask if Pathways could take a chance on me. That meeting became a turning point in my life. Through her tireless effort and unwavering belief in me, she rallied friends and generous sponsors to build a scholarship fund that carried me through all 5 years of medical school. It was not just the financial support, it was a lifeline that made my dream possible. And I became the organization's first medical student scholar. I was fortunate to enter the University of the Philippines College of Medicine, one of the country's top medical schools. There, I learned not only medicine but also the realities of Philippine health system. Through community immersions, I witnessed how difficult it is for many Filipinos to receive the care they need. My father's heart surgery had already shown me how illness can change a family's life. Combined with my experiences in medical school, it shaped my purpose to become a doctor who serves not only my family, but also the underserved Filipinos in need of quality healthcare. Then education came near the end of my medical school and gave me the opportunity to travel to Europe for the very first time. That experience broadened my horizons, showed me how much there is to learn beyond my own country, and inspired me to push my limits. As a result, I went on to pursue several international observerships during my subspecialty training. I let go of my initial plan of becoming a community doctor due to safety risks to doctors serving the far-flung areas during that time. Instead, I pursued internal medicine training at the Philippine General Hospital, where I also trained in medical school. Working in a tertiary government hospital meant practicing under severe resource limitation. Power water interruptions, medication shortages, and overcrowded wards. Yet, what struck me most was not our difficulty as doctors, but the additional suffering of patients in such conditions, on top of their own disease suffering. Then the COVID-19 pandemic came, placing us on the front lines of an unfamiliar battle. I completed my training in December 2020. I survived it and emerged more grounded as a physician. I knew becoming an internist was not the end of my training, but I was unsure which subspecialty to pursue. I explored my options while balancing teaching, research, and hospital duties, delaying further training until I found where I was most needed. That path eventually led me to geriatric medicine. With the Philippines' growing elderly population, I saw both an urgent need and my place in addressing it. I trained in a private multi-specialty hospital, a completely different world from my previous public hospital experience. And today, I continue working toward becoming the 5-star physician that my medical education taught me to strive for, serving both in private and public hospitals. First, as a clinician and care provider, the role that I practice majority of the time as a doctor. Second, as a communicator and educator. Teaching is one of my passions, and I take every opportunity to mentor younger doctors and share the knowledge and skills I have gained through training. Third, as a researcher, I have been fortunate enough to present my work both locally and internationally, and to have some of it recognized with awards. Fourth, as a manager, working in a public hospital has given me the opportunity to lead multidisciplinary teams to deliver the best possible care for our patients. And lastly, as a social mobilizer and community leader. This is actually the role that I am striving to grow into. But none of these would have been possible without that moment of humility, when my mother and I asked Pathways for help, and without Miss Solvie's belief in my potential. Her support, together with the generosity of many others, helped me become the physician that I am today. I still have much to accomplish, but I hope that through my work and service, I have made Pathways and education proud. But the career is only part of the story. Today, my own small family reminds me that success is not just about working hard or achieving professional milestones. It is also about living a meaningful, joyful life and inspiring others along the way. I hope my journey encourages you not only to pursue your dreams and build fulfilling careers, but also to cherish the people you love and create happy, purposeful lives with your families, both present and future. Hi everyone, I'm Jean. Hi everyone, I'm
What an incredible story from Jean, and thank you so much for sharing. I know you're here today. Thanks for sharing again and the difference that you're making every single day. George, you are board president of Aiducation International Kenya, and you have also lived every chapter of the story. Take us into where we go over the next 20 years.
Thank you, Carmen. You've all heard where we come from and where we are today. Let me take you to where we go. I have witnessed firsthand how education's programs turn talented students into leaders, young people who are equipped to drive real change in their own communities, as the examples we have seen today. I didn't only witness it myself, I lived it because I saw how access personally for myself, how access to education can transform a life, because it transformed mine when I received the education scholarship in 2010. And this is why the continued kind contributions of our supporters and the dedication of this great team at Aiducation and the effectiveness of our work that we do still continues to inspire me every single day. And why I'm proud to give back my time as a board president in Kenya, building futures that last. The scholarship I received in those years in 2010, about 5 years since the organization started, points me to the work I still do today as I live at the intersection of technology, education and innovation. And I continue to watch again and again how the right access to educational opportunities is transforming lives. So I'm telling you this for one reason, because education is itself undergoing a transformation. As you see in this picture, I began last June in Switzerland. Leaders from every part of our organization, Kenya, Philippines, Switzerland, Germany, we sat in one room. We asked ourselves an honest question. 20 years of changing lives since that first classroom in Kenya in 2006. How do we make sure that this never again depends on a grant that may not come next year? And out of that room, we came out with a name, Glocalize. It's a global vision, local ownership. And with this name, we put together a plan. And that's the next slide. Our new model for Glocalize. For most of our history, we have raised funds in the global north and spent it in the south, in Kenya and in the Philippines. We are turning that around. If you can picture the most trusted franchise that you know, with the same promise in every country, but every branch is locally owned and locally run and locally proud. We are building that today for social impact here at Aiducation, and it rests on these three ideas: talent hubs, Kenya and the Philippines, are raising their own support from local companies and local foundations and from alumni who were once scholars themselves, like myself. And second, each hub is running independently under one shared brand, shared programs, and shared standards of quality, and contributing back to this network that is holding it together. And thirdly, our fundraising chapters, Switzerland, Germany, and soon also, of course, the USA and the UK, stop paying our running costs and we start funding impact itself. The idea is simple, that by 2030, the network finances itself. Next slide. And here is our roadmap, 3 chapters from 2022 to 24. We have been rebuilding our foundations. After our founders stepped back, we activated our boards, we rebuilt our systems and our website. And here in Kenya, we have been building our alumni organization and redesigning the scholar journey for ahead of our new school system change. In 2025 and 2027, we localize and we activate Glocalize. That's the current stage that we are in. And the countries are undergoing transformation at the local level, adopting our new model. From 2028 to 2030, we prove that our Glocalized model can travel, and we intend to launch 2 prototypes, one in Africa and one in Asia. And from there, we scale. 20 years ago, in 2006, we decided in this organization that a bright Kenyan child or later Filipino child was worth believing in. And in 2010, I became one of those children. And today that belief becomes a network built to outlast every one of us. And tomorrow it becomes the responsibility of the next scholar who will stand exactly where I'm standing today. Thank you. Back to you, Carmen.
Thank you so much, George. 20 years of proof of education, and now we have a roadmap to scale it. Awesome. To close off, I would love to hand over to Samuel, our board president of Aiducation International, for some final words.
Thank you so much, Carmen. It's a privilege to be here, and I must say I'm very touched and also inspired by all that I heard throughout this hour. These are very impressive testimonials of what this organization has achieved. I've only been a few years with Aiducation, and it's amazing where this organization comes from, and the ripples that were mentioned, they continue beyond. It's interesting. Today, one of the key topics that we hear everywhere is artificial intelligence, AI. And you could wonder, when you listen to what George has said, you know, where the journey should go, could artificial intelligence ever replace what we are doing here? And my answer is clearly no. The real AI is Aiducation International. And that's not a joke, because what artificial intelligence will never ever be able to deliver and to give is empathy. And we are human beings, and as human beings, we're analog creatures. Empathy is absolutely essential for us as human beings to grow and to learn. And this is basically the core value of this organization, is empathy. It's listening to each other, it's supporting each other, it's believing in each other. And that's the power of this people-centric organization. I would like to sincerely thank you all, in particular the team. And I have to look a bit at my notes because I don't want to forget anyone. I also have to thank our donors. We had at the very beginning a short introduction about VentureKick. Actually, VentureKick was founded by Köberl and Ernst Göhner Foundation. Today, I'm the CEO of Ernst Göhner Foundation, and I'm still also joining sometimes juries of those pitches of the 3 venture stages. This year, VentureKick in the last 20 years has supported over 1,300 startups with a survival rate of over 60%. And one of them is education. And that's a wonderful thing. And for me, a circle is closing. We also had early donors like Swiss Re. We had a lot of institutional partners that supported us, like UBS, Givaudan, MSD, On Shoes, Wyss Academy for Nature, and Swiss Air Staff Foundation. All of those donors were absolutely essential, in particular in the beginning. We also have a new institutional core funding partners like Orsimone Wirtlichpass Foundation, the Frey Charitable Foundation, and ATDT. All of those donors were absolutely important for us, not just their money, but also their time, their knowledge, their know-how, their coaching. And this has created, we spoke a lot about alumni networks and networks, but we are a big thriving ecosystem, a big vibrant community that has grown. And as I mentioned in the beginning, this is all, it's people, it's empathy, it's emotion, it's vision, it's also inspiration. And all of you have made that possible. Last but not least, I also want to thank all the volunteers, our scholarship supporters, and above all our people that are still with us and continue to be with us, the whole team. It's a privilege to be on this board and to be with you. And I'm convinced that the journey that we want to go with, localizing more, franchising, and making this system grow, the figures you have seen today show we have still a long way to go together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Samuel. Thank you everyone for joining us today. 20 years ago, a group of people saw something. Today, you saw so many aspects of that too. Thanks to our incredible speakers, for everyone joining us. Every single one of you makes this possible, what we do here. We'd like to propose a toast. Raise whatever you have, if it's a coffee, a tea, a water. Cheers to Aiducation International. Go well. Thank you, everyone.